That song was written by Alan Menken, the music, and the lyrics were written by a very dear friend of Kevin's and mine, Stephen Schwartz. And what Stephen Schwartz does, in my opinion, better than any lyricist on the planet, is write about oneness in a way that touches you, you identify with, it instructs you. Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. He instructs you. He invites you, come and do this. You know? You think that the only people who are the people who look and feel like you. And he's saying, no, go out and meet someone unlike yourself. Go out and meet the people of the world who make up this world, and don't allow yourself to stay cocooned somewhere where you feel safe. Go out. Be curious. Find out what's out here. And then he talks about, in the song, every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. Everything is God. Everything is God. The trees, the rocks, the sky, the stars, the moon, everything is God. It's all God. There's nothing that is not God. So I was having allergies this week, and I was feeling my allergies, and I was like, wait a minute. If I'm God, how can I be allergic to something? God isn't allergic to God. It's all God. How can I be allergic? Can I just tell you that the minute I understood that, my allergies started to subside because they had nowhere to go. I was like, I can't be allergic, because I really felt like for months now I've been allergic to my dogs. And I was like, you know what? They are God's creatures, and they're not going anywhere. Much to my chagrin. No, they're not going anywhere. So, oh well. And so since then, my nose is clear, and I'm just like, God can't be allergic to God. Let's get over that. And I mean no disrespect for those of you with allergies, although you might want to try that affirmation. So, you know, he gives us this instructions. He tells us what this world is all about, and it's so touching to me. This week, I was at UCLA twice. Was it twice this week or once last week? Twice this week. Once to take a tour of the entire campus, and give me a second. See, this is why I didn't want to talk about this. So, thank you, teens. Yeah, so, I always tell people, don't hold back your tears, but when you're standing in front of 200 people, you kind of want to not cry. So, we went to UCLA, and the first day was to tour the whole campus. And as we were touring the campus, Kevin and I were behind, and Nora kind of stayed on her own a little bit of it, but there was a moment where she was walking in this gorgeous big building, and I just all of a sudden had this moment, and many of you have had this, I'm sure, Ellen, you've had this, many parents have had this, where suddenly you're like, there she goes, off into the world to find herself, right? And it's like, I was standing there going, how did this happen? I was just carrying her over my shoulders, screaming at her for not wearing a sweater 2 days ago. Could you imagine me carrying Nora? Well, you're wearing that sweater. But that's what I did when she was 6. So I was looking at that, and then we were at UCLA, and I'm just looking at this, and I thought, talk about curiosity. As the tour guide was telling us all the different things you can study at UCLA, he had me. I was ready to sign up for college. I was like, that's it, I'm going back to college. Especially if that's her college, I'll be there. Could you imagine? And if you go to Emerson, I'm moving to Boston. It's offset. I'm totally good. But I'll have to move back and forth between Texas and wherever, because Will's going to Texas. But I'm looking at this university, and I'm just thinking, all of the intelligence of the universe is at our fingertips today, and I don't even have to go to UCLA. I just have to turn on my computer and ask it a question. So we have an opportunity this month to really ask ourselves, how much curiosity can we bring into our life? So that's the beginning of this. So, as you know, this month's theme, curiosity. If you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew you never knew. I love that lyric. You'll learn things you never knew you never knew. Now, in my understanding of this, it's really more like you'll learn things you never knew that you already knew. Because you already know everything. Right, Devin? You know that. You guys already know everything, but there comes a moment where you have to be conscious of it. Liza said it in her meditation this morning. Being awake. Carl Jung, quote, are we awake to knowing that we know what we know? And are we willing to be in touch with, tap into what we know? How many times do you hear yourself saying, I don't know? I would pay attention this month to how many times you say, I don't know. That used to be one of my, and those of you that are taking mental muscle, there's a week in mental muscle where we find the thing we say over and over again that we constantly say. I used to say, keep them coming. Someone's bound to get it. Our already established prep, no, not that. Not that, no. No, it's our whatever. It's like a slang thing we always say, like, to be honest. I mean, like, to be honest, like that's the beginning of every sentence. Catchphrases. You've done mental muscle how many times? 100 times. Our catchphrases that we use catchphrases instead of actually being quiet to hear what we need to hear. And how many people's catchphrase is, I don't know. There's something to affirm to the universe. So what do you think about, I don't know? You start with I don't know, and then you answer the question. How many of you do that? It's like, I don't know, maybe 100. I don't know, I think it's this. I don't know, but I know this. If I don't know is your catchphrase, get rid of it. Try something else. I know this. That'd be a good one. I know this. You'll learn things you never knew you never knew. So this is about being awake this month. You making a conscious choice to being awake. We need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. I believe that we are only operating at a small percentage of what we're capable of. Would you all agree with that? Yes. There used to be this fallacy, it was a wives' tale actually, it's been discredited, that mankind only used 10% of its brain. That's actually not true. If you still think it is, it's a fallacy. Science has debunked this because if any part of your brain is touched or damaged, it will reflect something in you. Your entire brain is being used. Now, how much of your brain is consciously being used, that's a different story. How much of your brain, and I don't even care about the brain so much. The brain does what it's there to do. I'm more interested in what's using the brain. Something's using the brain. It's not you particularly. It's you individually. But there's something bigger than you using the brain of the universe. And that, I believe, is God. And that's who I am. That's what I am. So how much of the infinite, expansive universe are you using? And part of it is that we think we know. We think we already know. Everything that you think you already know, and I love what Jason said, we got to ask questions, even in the things we think we know. Because if we just go with the premise, oh, I already know everything that's out there, we're not going to be that little boy who's not up there. We're not going to be, if you can put that up there, I'd love to have him with me this whole time. Yes. No, this is good. No, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's even better. So our job is are we willing to know that there's way more than we already know? You know what that would mean? You would have to actually honestly admit that there's more for you to know. How many know-it-alls are in the room? I'm not raising my hand, I'm just... Yes, my daughter and I one day, when Kevin was giving us his 50th rendition of something that was correct and true. We both said, I forget how one of us, I think it was me that said it might have been you that said, I don't know why Google called itself Google, it should just be Kevin Bailey. Was it you?
I think it was you.
It was me. So we'd have to be willing to admit that there's more for me. How many here believe there's more for you in this world? What did you say? Jeffrey? Oh, absolutely. I thought you were like, I don't know. So we all admit it. There is more. How are you going to access it? You're not going to run yourself ragged by running the universe to try to get it all. No. How are you going to access it? It's not an outside job. The access to the universal intelligence of allness is an inside job. You need to be able to look with the eyes of this little boy who knows already that there's amazing things to see. I always tell that story, and I know I've told it here before, about Nora screaming at me to come outside and look at what's outside, and I was way too busy until finally, you can't ignore her for long. She's just screaming. And I went outside, I'm like, what? And she went, look at this, and it was a little rose. She goes, this wasn't here yesterday. And I was like, and I was too busy to experience this moment. We are way too busy in our lives because we're missing way too many roses that weren't here yesterday. I know I'm going to cry again. So William James, who's known as the father of modern psychology, believe it or not, he's the one that came up with the idea that 10% of our brain is being used. But by the time he died, he had understood that that wasn't the brain. It's less than 10% of our oneness with all, because he was a metaphysician. And he wouldn't call it God. He would only call it belief. So he was very much in alignment with what we teach. So the real question I have for us all today is, how much are we using? How much of our mind, not our brain, our mind, are we using? How curious are you about your life? How curious are you about this world out here? How curious are you about even the things you think you already have handled? How curious are you about your partner? After 30 years, I could feel like I know everything there is to know about Kevin. But I don't. I hope I don't. I hope he keeps showing me more and more interesting things to see. Or let me put it, no, why put that on him? I hope I take the time to find the myriad of things that there are to see in this man. Every single one of you that are in a couple of any type should be able to turn to that partner and see them brand new. Because it's a brand new moment. And not take it that, oh yeah, I already know that. The minute you say, I already know that, you've cut it. You're done. That's it. You've made a decision. That's it. I'm done. What if there's a wonderful thing that we do in Mental Muscle, which is, I know nothing. Now what can I know? I know nothing. Now what can I know? I've lived my life like that. I know nothing. Now what can I know? Because the truth is, I know everything. Now how much of it am I going to literally allow through me? So, the title of my talk today, there you go, is Full of Ideas. Full of ideas. You. I could do it 200 and some odd times. You are all full of ideas. Do you all know that? You're all like, You're full of ideas. You are sitting here today full of ideas. It's not a surprise that tonight are the Oscars. There's somebody sitting in this room today who will probably win an Oscar. It's me, of course, but there's someone here today who will probably win an Oscar. And 20 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 5 years, or next year, you'll be going, oh my God, I saw them at church. Because we are full of ideas that are just ready to burst out into the universe, that are just ready to be backed by everything the universe has to back it with. But you got to know it. You have to know it. I know you're full of ideas, but you have to be willing to not only know you're full of ideas, but act on them. Because you know who's acting on them, because you know you're God, and you know that everything you need for that idea to reach its fulfillment already is in place, because the idea would not have come to you unless it were. I love Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert's book, because she talks about these ideas. God is always bringing these ideas into the world. Take one and make it yours. If it came through you, it's yours. You can pass it along, and someone else will do it. I always talk about the first year I came out here when I was signed by CAA, and I started pitching my show. It was a show called Dinks, Double Income, No Kids. It was literally Will and Grace with a different title. And I pitched it all over, and the response was great. Everybody loved it, and they were all like, it's too soon. It's too soon. We're not going to do a show about these gay people. It's just too soon. And the following year, my agents were like, we should take it out again. I was like, you know what? Nah, it's too soon. It's never going to happen. 3 years later, Will and Grace, I was like, what? And for a while, I played the victim. I was like, someone stole my idea. Someone I pitched this to stole my idea, as if I could ever prove that. And I realized, because I was just starting to study science of mind, I was like, no, you didn't keep going. You let the world tell you no. Don't let the world say no to you. Find another world. Tiffany, where are you? Please tweet that out to the world. But that's the case. How often do you let someone say no? If Sylvester Stallone, speaking of Oscars, had let the world tell him what should have happened to his script, that would have never been what it was. Because everywhere he went, they told him, we need to rewrite it, you cannot star in this, you're a nobody. And he said, great, you don't get it. Until finally somebody said, all right, we'll let you do it. And the rest is history. You're sitting here ready to make history because you're full of ideas, you are full of everything you need, you just have to be willing to do it. Albert Einstein said this, the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Curiosity has its own reason for existing because curiosity grows us. When I'm curious, my energy's better. When I'm interested in things, it's an interesting energy that comes forth from me, and the same thing from you. You're really sitting in this room because you are curious. Because this is not a science, this is not a teaching that is for sissies. Well. It is, but this is not a teaching that's easy because you have to take responsibility for it all. You have to be willing to actually do something with these ideas. So, Albert Einstein, Walt Disney said this. We keep moving forward, and by the way, it's in your programs. We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. Curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. Some people don't want to take a different path. If you're one of those people, I urge you, I was going to say I beg you, I urge you, spend some time asking yourself, why am I stuck? Because God's not stuck. The energy of the universe is moving through you, whether you like it or not. You may put a kink in your hose, but when you put the kink in your hose, that energy is bypassing your kink and saying to you, enjoy living the kink. We're moving on. That's what happens. You can say it's not working for me, but the universe is working perfectly. Period, end of sentence. Join the party. So it's really up to you to say to yourself, I am ready to take whichever path shows itself from me to be the most exciting path for me to take. And then, by the way, grab some gear and get on the path. Don't just keep thinking, there's a better world for me, there's a better world for me. Because you can get stuck in, there's a better world for me, and wherever you walk, that world will always be out of reach. Because there's always a better world for me. How about, this is the perfect, best world I could ever live in right now, and I have everything I need to succeed at it in ways I haven't even begun to think of yet. How about that? Does that feel good? Yeah. The rest of you? Yeah. You're still trying to think about the path. Got it. Okay, so I have a little bit for you this week to start the week off. First of all, I really want you to mix it up. If you get up every day and have oatmeal, have cream of wheat. or have a protein drink. If you get up every day and do the same thing, now I'm not talking about spiritual practice, although mix up your spiritual practice. I remember when I was a Catholic and I would do the rosary bead every single day, the entire rosary beads. But after a while, it was just, Jesus, and I'm thinking about something completely different. I can do the rosary and something else at the exact same time. So if you're somewhere in your spiritual practice and it's boring the God out of you, find a new spiritual practice. Find something that excites you. Find something that makes you curious about it. Pick up a different book. Don't just pick up The Science of Mind and read it. It's a great book, but as Ernest Holmes said, if you're still reading this in 50 years, you missed my point. There's a lot of brilliant writers out. Go read Bruce Lipton. Biology of Belief. Find out why the world is the way it is and why your world is the way it is. So mix it up this week. Drive a different route. And not just take a different street while you're driving, notice where you're driving. Now, the truth is for me, I take a lot of different routes because I get lost a lot. But I'm okay with that when I'm by myself. Because I just figure wherever I end up, I was supposed to be. Wherever I go, I'm equal to it. Kevin often says to me, I don't know how you get where you're going when I'm not there. He does. Famous story when we're on a cruise ship, I always lead. Even if I don't know where I'm going, I tend to lead. Anybody else? Yeah, right? I don't know where I'm going, but follow me. So, and according to this talk, that's the way to be a leader, in curiosity. Moses didn't know where he was going. And do you know that probably within 1 month of Moses freeing all of those slaves, they were all complaining to him, saying, we should go back. At least we knew what that was. So anyway, where was I? I went all the way to Moses. Yes, I was on a cruise ship, and I was leading, and Kevin finally just stopped. He just stood still, probably because he knew I was walking down a dead-end row. So I walk all the way down, and I'm talking, and there was a wall, nothing else. And I turned around to say, oh, I'm sorry, and he is at the other end of the hallway on the floor laughing. And he was like, this is why I tell you, just listen. I know where we're going. But you know what? The truth is, no. Because the truth is, you know where you're going. And if someone doesn't want to take your long-winded route there, oh well, right? So take a new route this week. I have this vision of 200 people going, just to get home. So drive a new route. Another one, try a different restaurant. How many of you keep going to the same restaurants over and over and over again? I know, right? The rest of you are like, we don't eat, we cook at home. But try a different restaurant. But when you're there, don't go to a different restaurant and try to order the same meal you got at the other restaurant. How many of you do that? And then complain, it's not as good as it, let's go back. Try a different food. Eat something different. Even if you don't like it, that's okay. Now you know. You don't like it. I've tried oysters. They're never touching this throat again. It's just not. How many of you like oysters? I have enough problems with post-nasal drip. I don't need anything more. I've ruined your love of oysters. No, but eat something different this week. Try some different restaurants, different food. Okay? And here's the big one. Think some new thoughts. Think some new thoughts, because just not the same ones over and over and over again, because frankly, the thoughts you've been thinking got you to where you are now. And I would wager to say that every single person in this room wouldn't mind taking another few steps forward in their life, yes? Yes. Okay, so whatever steps, that was good. That one was good. So where you are is great, but if you want to go somewhere else, think a different thought. Use some better thoughts. Think of some better beliefs that you could possibly bring into your being. Stephen Hawking said this, look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense out of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious. So there's our directive for the month. Be curious. So I've decided this month, every single day, and I will start. I should have started because it already started. March is already here, but I'm going to start tomorrow morning. I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to post something to my new page on Facebook. I have a public page because I can't have any more friends on my personal page. So I'm moving everything over to my public page. And every day this month, I am going to put something on there about what has struck me with curiosity. And some little either video or phrase or quote or something. Join me there and actually write something. I'd love to see this whole community get engaged in a conversation around curiosity, not just show up on Sundays and hear about it. So join me. It's just, you'll find it. It's James Mellon. You'll see it online. So Walt Disney said this: when you're curious, you find lots of interesting things to do. When you're curious, you find lots of interesting things to do. So you have this whole month to find interesting things to do. And mostly that means not the same old, unless you're going to do the same old in a different way. You're going to reframe exactly how you used to do things and do it in a different way. You can even have the same job. I don't expect you all to quit your jobs, but you can go into work and have a whole different experience about it. Bring flowers to someone who doesn't expect flowers from you. Watch what comes out of their eyes. Be curious. How does the world show up when this happens? How does this happen? Pick up a book. Pick up some fabulous science book fabulous science book that makes sense, and read it and go, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Like when I was researching this talk, I didn't know that we really do use our whole brain. I actually believed the wives' tale that we only use 10% of our brain. So I didn't know that. I kept going from person to person. William James took me to Swedenborg. Swedenborg took me to Phineas Quimby's manuscripts. And I'm like, oh my God, I could spend the rest of my life just getting interested in all of this. And I will, but once I'm interested in all of this, it informs me and I get to live all of this. So this is your month. This is a month for you to be curious, to get out there and change it up, to figure out not only who you are, but what you're capable of, and actually do what you're capable of. This is going to be a hell of a month. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.